This is the Tri-City Herald Edit Board for Benton-Franklin County Superior Court Judge. And we've got candidate Sharon Brown and Dave Peterson. I think I'll go, oh, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm going to introduce our board and then we can get started. I will say that we have Kristen Kramer, a reporter. She's sitting in and she is observing. She won't have any say in our recommendation process, but she may use the material that she gets from the Zoom meeting for a news story. So I'm Cecilia Rexis. I'm the Tri-City Herald editorial writer. We have Jack Briggs. He's a retired publisher for the Herald. We have Ken Robertson. He's a retired executive editor for the Tri-City Herald. Matt Taylor is a retired editorial writer. Lori Williams is our executive editor right now. And Martine Valadez is our community rep. So I think that's all. I didn't miss anyone, I don't think. So anyway, I think we will go ahead and start. We'll give the candidates 2 minutes for an opening remark, and then we'll just start with the question. So I'm going to do the timing. I think, Sharon, if you don't mind, I'm just picking someone. I'll just pick you. You can start.
Ready?
So yeah, whenever you're ready, I'll time you.
All right. Hello. Thank you for holding this conversation and inviting me to participate today. I look forward to talking with you about the issues important to the Benton-Franklin Superior Court, my candidacy, and why I believe I'm the best candidate for this position. As a business lawyer, city council member, mayor pro tem, and finally state senator for 8 years, I've developed a broad and unique skill set that would make me an outstanding judge and the best candidate in the race today. Firstly, one of the greatest obstacles to justice today comes when judges are unable to separate their own desires and biases from the fair administration of the law. As a state legislator, I've been creating, revising, establishing policy to become law. I have a respect for that process and believe that judges should always consider the will of the people as expressed through their elected representatives and the laws they pass. I'm running for Benton-Franklin Superior Court, and I believe that it's important that judges follow the laws as written and not legislate from the bench. As a judge, I will always show respect for that process and how I interpret and apply the law. Additionally, as a trained mediator, I know how to absolutely be neutral and fair in resolving disputes. Only by having fair, ethical judges who follow the law as written can public confidence in courts and its ability to guarantee justice be achieved. Secondly, in addition to my legislative duties, I maintain a successful legal and consulting business where I've provided clients assistance with legal and business matters, including guidance on finance, technology, capital asset planning, and construction-related issues. I received my JD from the University of New Hampshire School of Law, Franklin Pierce Center for Intellectual Property, ranked in the top 5 programs in the country for IP law. I also did post-JD study and received a certificate from the Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution at Pepperdine University School of Law. Finally, a judge's decisions reach far beyond the courtroom, and people deserve a judge with real-world experience who understands their challenges. In my role as a lawmaker, I often interact with people who come to me from diverse real-world interests and a variety of backgrounds and life experiences.
I'm gonna cut you off, Sharon.
I often get people out.
Wrap it up.
All
That's
right.
okay.
I will bring these life experiences with me to the bench.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's okay. I just thought, well, I'm gonna just let you know we were a little bit over there. Okay, Dave, your turn. Go for it.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to answer questions about me. I'm Dave Peterson, and I want to be your next Benton-Franklin County Superior Court Judge. Superior Court is our trial court. I am the only remaining candidate with any judicial and trial experience. I am a 2012 graduate of the Washington State Judicial College, and I'm endorsed by all 6 Benton-Franklin County District Court judges. As a judge, I am a steward of your constitutional rights. I will hold offenders accountable for their crimes and ensure that dignity and respect are fundamental beliefs supported by the court. Regardless of the matters before me, I will bring integrity, fairness, and impartiality to the bench. I have extensive judicial and legal experience and the knowledge and ability to run your court effectively. I was a full-time judge for the city of Pasco. I have over 20 years of service as a judge pro tem in Benton and Franklin counties, superior and district courts. In the last 23 years, I have been a prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, civil, and family law litigator. I am a mediator and an arbitrator. I was born and raised in the Tri-Cities. After graduation, I served in the U.S. Army, and I continued my service for another 6 years in the Army National Guard, where I attended college and law school. I'm a lifetime member of the Veterans of Foreign War. I attended CBC and graduated from University of Washington with a business degree and an accounting concentration. I completed law school at Thurgood Marshall School of Law in Houston, Texas, and then I returned to the Tri-Cities as a deputy prosecutor for Franklin County. My wife, Dina, and I have been married 28 years, and we have raised our 3 daughters here in the Tri-Cities. The quality of our legal system and its leadership are of great importance to me, and they should be to you as well. We need a Superior Court judge who knows what a judge does. I am vested in our community. I'm a graduate of Leadership Tri-Cities Class 6. I was an adjunct professor at CBC in the paralegal program. I have coached the mock trial team for Tri-Cities Prep for 19 years, and I've served on the Benton-Franklin County Legal Aid Board of Directors for over a decade. I will work hard to earn your support as your next Benton-Franklin County Superior Court judge, and I will work even harder to maintain that support. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So I think I'll start off with just a basic question for you both, and you can take turns answering it. So I'll just ask you, Dave, what is the one thing that separates you the most from your opponent?
Experience.
Okay.
I have, you want me to expand on that, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, and I didn't know what the time was.
No, you know what, we're gonna just talk. So
Okay.
We'll try not to let you go too long, but just answer the question.
It's my experience.
Okay.
I have experience in every aspect of the law, from criminal law, family law, probate, guardianship, adoption. I have practiced in just about every area of the law. I've also been a judge, a sitting judge, heard trials, heard motions, both at the Superior Court and the district court level, as well as when I was a judge for the city of Pasco. I'm known for my disposition, my friendly disposition in court, and my always being prepared in court. And it's that distinguishes me from my opponent. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, Sharon, you can answer the same question. What is it that you think?
First of all, I'd like to point out that my opponent states that he has 20 years of experience in Superior Court, but when I tried to do some research, I found that in the past 2 years, he's only served on 10 cases. 5 of those incidents were for one particular case. And so, and I couldn't find where he had served in that capacity prior to the past 2 years. So I think what separates myself from my opponent is that I've had real world experience with any number of different types of people that would appear before the bench. I have walked with domestic violence survivors, human trafficking survivors. I've held the hand of parents who have lost a child who's died by suicide. I understand these personal struggles, and I've tried to craft laws that help these individuals. And so I think, when you talk about experience, judicial experience is really important. However, no matter who wins this race, the person's going to have to go to judicial college for Superior Court, because as all of you know, you've all done the research, the courts have different jurisdictions. Superior Court is a very specific area, and it's going to require that either one of us attends judicial college for Superior Court. And in judicial college, we're going to learn the rules and procedure for the particular bench that we will be sitting on, which would be Superior Court. So we're both starting from ground zero when it comes to that. I bring a whole different level of experience. I've been an attorney. I've made laws. Isn't that the type of judge that you want to have on the bench? Somebody who has that real world experience.
I'm going to let Dave respond. Did you want to respond to what Sharon said about your 20 years of experience?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
First of all, I've been pro temping. I was sworn in January of 2000 in Pasco Municipal Court as a judge pro tem, and I filled out on a regular basis and then transitioned into the job in 2011. I have been filling in Superior Court at least since I became a judge in Pasco Municipal Court in 2011. I do settlement dockets, I do status dockets. I currently have cases that are pre-assigned to me. In fact, on my desk right now, a Superior Court case is pre-assigned to me. So when my opponent says 5 hearings in one case, that's because the case is assigned to me and I handle all of the hearings on a particular case. But I handle many other cases, and I've been pro-temming long before that. Additional, she's incorrect about the Judicial College. Yes, we have to attend, or I would have to attend again, because I'm going from municipal to Superior Court, but every judge is required to attend the Judicial College, Supreme Court all the way down. We sit in the same classroom, we take the same classes, and then we have breakouts. Municipal judges go one way, Superior Court, Court of Appeals, and then we only had one Supreme Court justice when I went through. But then you come back in, like any other seminar, back to the fundamentals. I'm looking forward to going. It's a phenomenal experience. I want to win this. I want to go again. But it is not, as my opponent would suggest, we all have to start all over. I have that training, and I've been pro-temming for a long period of time. Now I see where the rumors are on Facebook that I started in 2018. I've been filling in Superior Court for a lot longer than that.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the board? Any board members want to jump in?
I guess I would ask you, Dave, what does it matter if to have the actual courtroom experience versus what Sharon is saying about the experience, the real life experience, and the ability to understand the creation of the legislation.
Okay. It makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. It's trial court. Superior Court is our trial court. Okay. You have to know how to do a trial to preside over trials. There is no substitute. And when you say real life experience, I'm not knocking her credentials as a senator, but it's got to happen in the courtroom. You learn it in the courtroom. When you look at the bar results that came out, I sent it as a press release to the Herald. Overwhelmingly, the Bar Association and the lawyers value the experience. Without question, they value the experience. It's because it's necessary. You don't learn where to stand in law school. When you're arguing on the legislative floor, you don't know where to stand during a trial. You don't have the objection experience. You don't have the experience of reading people when they're talking to you like that. I can appreciate real world experience as a rounding as a human being, but to be the trial court judge, you have to know what the trial court does and how to do it. Thank you.
Sharon, did you want to respond?
Yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity. So again, I'm going to go back to Judicial College and also all the way back in the Wayback Machine to law school. You learn in law school where to stand in court, for Pete's sakes. We do mock trial. I've also participated in mock trial and helped young women hone their skills for mock trial practice. So we've learned that way long ago. And again, Judicial College is where they teach the rules that are specific to Superior Court. Superior Court, as my opponent states, has a very specific jurisdiction. And that's why it's important for that Judicial College. And that's why they have it for Superior Court judges.
Okay. Is there any other board member want?
Yeah, I have a question.
Great.
So yeah, Sharon, I took down the notes, and thank you both for joining us, and for you guys both have a great deal of experience, obviously. So that's great to, trust me, some of the candidates that have come before us. So it's refreshing to see people with experience, different kinds. But so one of the things you mentioned, talking about, so you're, judges, following the law and all that, but you made a statement about following the will of the people. So that to me stands in conflict with what judges should be doing. I mean, perhaps I'm wrong. So
okay, so look, I'll clarify because I can see where I may not have made it very clear. I meant that with regard to enforcing the laws as they're written. So the will of the people comes when the law is established. And so once the law is established, I believe that it's a judge's responsibility to follow the law as it's written, which is why I believe that my experience having made those laws is critically important. We had Andy Miller, our Benton County prosecutor, use one of the laws that I was able to work on just a couple of weeks ago. It was Senate Bill, gosh, it's a 6164, which allows prosecutors to revisit sentencing, and it's a resentencing statute. And so Judge Cameron Mitchell used that particular law a couple of weeks ago, and it was very helpful to the prosecutors, and I was thankful to be a part of that. I don't believe that judges should get on the bench and start imposing their own views, Martine. That's kind of what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, so thanks, because I thought, whatever the public is saying outside, that should influence your decision. That's credit. So that's why it struck me.
No, that's all part of the legislative process. The judicial process is totally separate.
Okay, thank you.
Did the Bar Association make a recommendation in this race, the local one?
Yes,
Who did they recommend?
they recommended 40 votes to me, 5 to Sharon.
I'm sorry, 5-2.
Sharon had 5 recommendations. I had 40 recommendations. And hopefully somewhere in your, wherever press releases go, you'll have the complete bar poll. It rates legal ability for exceptionally well qualified. Sharon had 1 vote. I had 28. It rates judicial temperament.
I think it's no surprise about the bar poll. So let me weigh in here a little bit.
And I'll finish my statement.
I'm not an insider, and so it doesn't surprise me. I've been in Olympia for the past 8 years making the laws that the attorneys are interpreting in the courtroom.
I appreciate that. I don't want to cut anybody off, but I was answering a question.
Yeah, let's let him finish, Sharon, then I'll let you.
And so judicial temperament had Sharon Brown had 3 votes for exceptionally well qualified. I had 32. For not qualified, Sharon had 8. I had 0. For relevant legal experience, Sharon had 1 exceptionally well qualified vote. I had 32. Not qualified, she had 30 votes. And then, which is the best candidate overall choice? She had 5 votes and I had 40. And I think it is important what the people that are in the trenches doing the work support.
Okay, go ahead, Sharon. There was a little bit of everybody talking over each other, so now you can have a turn.
It's not a surprise that the bar supported my opponent. The bar knows my opponent. The bar isn't familiar with me. I've been in Olympia for the past 8 years, back and forth between here and Olympia, making the laws that the bar has been using. So I wasn't surprised with regard to those bar results. A lot of the judges that we've had that have been really great judges in the Tri-Cities have been judges that didn't come up through the trenches, that weren't in court all the time, judges that were able to serve on the bench with a fresh set of eyes and weren't steeped in, being part of this organization that I have not been a part of for a long time.
Who would those be?
I don't want to call out names. I might get in trouble.
No, you're not.
Because I mean no disrespect to other judges that are out there.
Okay.
I'm trying to recall one myself, and I can't.
Jack, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, Sharon, why would a Tri-Citian be wrong to think that along the lines that Sharon Brown has done great work in Olympia? In this day and age of division, you've been able to cross party lines. You've worked with both sides of the aisle. You built an excellent reputation. Losing this race, we would keep Sharon Brown doing an excellent job in the state legislature, rather than putting this up in this divisive climate that we now have in legislative and all races. we'd be keeping Sharon Brown doing the excellent job she's doing in the legislature. And we'd have as judge a guy who obviously has a great reputation within the system. Why would I be wrong to think that?
I understand that. And thank you, Jack. I'm humbled by those words, especially coming from you. That really means a lot to me, that my service has made a difference in the Tri-Cities. I appreciate that. And I am sure that another exceptionally well-qualified candidate would step in to fill my shoes. And I believe that those years that I have served in the legislature making these laws has provided me with this very unique skill set that would be particularly helpful on the bench.
Sharon, I'd like to ask what kind of courtroom experience you can cite. I know you've obviously worked with resolving disputes, I assume primarily in civil type issues, but can you walk us through whatever relevant courtroom experience you might have?
Sure. I started out my legal career actually as an interim city prosecutor, and learned one of my most valuable life lessons from that experience, a lesson that I've taught my kids. As I was serving as a prosecutor, in one of my very first cases ever, I was in court proving some elements, thought I was doing a great job, closed my case, thought I had won the case. Judge bangs the gavel down, rules for the defendant, and then summoned me into his office after the case. And I was really taken aback because I'm very green. I'm a very young attorney at that point. So I walk into his chambers thinking, oh no, I'm going to lose my job. I really must have screwed up. I wonder what I did wrong. I walked in there and he said, Sharon, what you did wrong is there were 5 elements of this case. You proved 4. You need to prove all 5 of the elements of a case. And, you know, I apologized to the judge. He said, don't worry about it. You're young, but make this a lesson to you. And when that person shows up in my courtroom again, you make sure you prove that 5th element. I've used that as a life lesson, particularly with my girls. So whenever they've gotten frustrated and said, you know, oh, I didn't do this or didn't do that, I said, were you thorough? Did you go through? And I launch into my story of this judge pulling me into chambers and educating me. And he was absolutely right. So I've strived to do that as I've moved forward in my path as an attorney and as a legislator and as a business person, to make sure that I'm thorough. And so with regard to courtroom experience, I've had that courtroom experience. I also did a lot of complex civil litigation. I did mergers and acquisitions for a while in long-term care, representing a company that bought and sold long-term care facilities out of bankruptcy, where they would buy them and rehab them and move on and acquire other properties. I've also done a lot of commercial construction litigation and worked on some cases, actually some very large cases in the Seattle area in commercial litigation with regard to alternative dispute resolution. So it's not, as my opponent would like to make it out, that I have never seen the inside of a courtroom. I definitely have seen the inside of a courtroom. I've been there, you know, and yes, you're right. My objective in my civil practice was to keep my clients out of court. That was a successful resolution for me. But when you're involved in commercial litigation, that's not always something that you can do. There's a lot of arguments with regard to lien priorities. And so I've been right there arguing for my clients on those. And also, again, I get back to Judicial College. Judicial College for Superior Court is where those particular rules of procedure are taught.
Thank you.
Sharon, I remember sitting in an editorial board some years back with Bill Gates Senior, and we asked him, I've forgotten who, asked him to rate the Superior Court judges, not individually, but as collectively. And sitting alongside him was the Chief Justice. And he gave them a C, which took a lot of nerve. how would both of you rate our Superior Court bench judges?
Why don't we let Dave go first, because he hasn't talked for a while. So, Dave, you can answer that
Our,
first.
cur- our current Benton and Franklin County Superior Court judges, I won't give anybody an A, because you can always work harder. You set yourself up for failure if you don't have something to reach for. Let's say a B. Right now, our panel has experience. They have courtroom experience. I'm not sure which one doesn't. They have courtroom experience. They have vast experience as lawyers in court prior to becoming judges. And we have a great temperament of our current bar. I think they all put in their diligence and they work hard. There's no substitute for being prepared for a case. When you go into the courtroom and the judge can tell you what you put in your pretrial materials and then ask questions that they want answered when they start, that lets litigants know that they're having their fair day in court. And so I would rate them with a B, not because they're doing something wrong, but because you want to stay motivated to do better.
Sharon?
I would say B+, because I think they really try. They really try hard. They do research. I think that where we could use some additional help on the bench would be with regard to those complex civil litigations, which I believe that as a result of COVID, we're going to see, unfortunately, more and more of. We have a lot of small businesses that are really struggling, and I think that's going to result in a lot of business litigation going forward, unfortunately.
So Dave, what would you be adding to the mix?
I will bring to the mix hard work, experience, great temperament, and those are all important. Again, no substitution for hard work, being prepared for your cases, but your temperament, how you address the litigants, how they believe they're getting their fair shake. That's why I'm pre-assigned cases now in Superior Court. The judges respect how I hear a case and my preparation for a case. And that's what I'm going to bring to the mix. Again, we've got great judges right now. I don't know that we've always had the hardworking judges that we currently have on there. We've always had wonderful people with integrity. But right now we've got some good, hardworking, intelligent judges.
Did you want to ask?
Anything else, something?
I was going to see if Sharon wanted to say what she would add to the mix.
Okay.
Give her a chance to answer the same question.
Sure.
Yeah, I would bring that human element. Like I said before, I've spent a lot of time over the past 8 years really trying to work with populations all across the spectrum to understand the issues, to not prejudge people, and to really be a part of that conversation. That's an element that you can't take out of a textbook. When you spend years working with human trafficking survivors, you really gain an understanding of some of the struggles that they're going through. And that's invaluable, absolutely invaluable on the bench, that human element.
Okay. Let's talk about social justice issues, and I guess I'll bounce back to Dave. That's been a really in the forefront, nationally and our community. What are your thoughts on improvements and just social justice issues in general?
We are in desperate need for improvement. I think that our system, not just our judicial system, but society is just plagued with social injustice right now. How to fix it is a more delicate question or delicate issue. I don't know how to fix it, but I do know that we need to do something. We need training, we need awareness, and all of those things have to occur both with the judges, should occur with the lawyers. It needs to occur throughout the judicial system. But it also needs to occur in society, in our schools. We have segments of population who don't even believe they belong and are treated like they don't belong. And that is unacceptable, particularly when we're talking about just being unable to live your life because of social injustice. It hurts. It hurts. And then the thought of then those injustices coming into the courtroom. People coming to court not thinking that they stand a fair chance. People coming into court thinking that they're going prejudiced before they even start talking. And I'm not saying that that's not true, because I think to a large extent, we have biases that are filtered through our system that impact people. And so we have to do something. And right now hopefully we're at this pivotal point where we're not just talking about social injustice. We're not giving it lip service like I think we always have. We're being uncomfortable with it. And that's what's important. And I think you have to be uncomfortable to get to change. And so we need to be uncomfortable right now.
Okay, Sharon, your turn.
Okay, this is such a heavy topic. It's almost hard to decide where to start in this. You know, as a mom of biracial children, you want to talk about social injustice. I have experienced it through their eyes, but I'm going to tell you, I'm a white woman. So the path that I take is way different than somebody from a different race and a different color than me. And what I've realized is that people are so quick to say, like my opponent, we need more training. We need more this, we need more that. You know what? I have spent hours with some of these communities. I have talked to the BIPOC community, the Black, Indigenous, people of color community. There are varying levels of what they believe that the solutions are within those communities themselves. I don't profess to have the answers. We need to be convening these community conversations to figure out what the path forward is, because doggone it, we need a path forward. I don't know what it is yet. And I just believe so strongly that we have to have these conversations. We've got to figure out what the heck it is that we need to push our society forward. It's very frustrating to me, very, very frustrating. Some of the barriers, we should talk about that too, what some of the barriers to justice are, because we need reforms there. We have the financial barrier to access to justice. We have which is self-explanatory. If you don't have the money, how do you move your case forward? And like I said earlier, we're going to see more and more civil cases in our court system as a result of COVID and a lot of these businesses that are not going to be able to survive this. We have structural barriers in our court system. Structural barriers meaning the system is built for attorneys who understand the process. So what are some things that we can do to reform the system? I've actually done some research and talked to a lot of people, because this is a very big issue. What do we do? We've talked about self-help and non-lawyer service providers to be able to have more people be able to participate in a meaningful way in the process, potentially the right to counsel in civil cases, pro bono, but most importantly, we need early intervention, and we need to have early intervention across a broad area of our society. Early intervention in many different areas of the community, so people understand and aren't afraid to participate in the process, so that they feel like their voices can be heard, so like they feel that they can and will get equal justice under the law.
David, what do you think about the discussions the commissioners have had about splitting the Superior Court? And whether that will add more representation for Pasco to the Superior Court bench?
I think it's a bad idea, and I think it diminishes representation for Pasco on the bench. The underlying reason why is the economics of it. Why is one county footing part of the bill for another county? Well, we have a system that's in need of problems, and to say that economic is the number one reason why we have courts, I think that sends the wrong message to Pasco, and I think it's the wrong message for Benton County to say. Right now, there are efficiencies that we have within our system. Our family law dockets, our probate dockets, our civil dockets, we lose those efficiencies. They will not have the resources to do those things, and you will overtax, not just overtax the judges, but you're going to overtax the system. when you divide it up and you lose those efficiencies. I think it's just a horrible idea. And I think that our citizens of both Benton and Franklin County will suffer greatly if we do this.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Yeah, as you all know, it's a highly contentious issue. You know, we've had this bill before the legislature on splitting the Benton-Franklin Superior Court system. I would like to say that we really need to focus our resources right now on access to justice. That is so critically important. And I can't make the decision if splitting the court system gives more access to justice or not. Perhaps we need more studies to find that out, but we absolutely need to put more resources into that access to justice and making the system more user-friendly for everyone.
You don't think that it would add more representation for folks in Pasco to have just judges elected in Pasco? That wouldn't affect things, improve?
I'm not sure if it would, what it would do to the financial burden, and if that's where the resources should be spent in splitting it. So what I think, you know, having a study into the efficacy of splitting it, that might be a good idea. I know that there's some administrative struggles that exist right now. I know that the judges are happy with the way the system is currently. So I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to be making that decision. But I think we really need to find out what is it that would achieve the objective that you're saying, because that's what we need to move forward to, something that absolutely is going to provide more representation for everyone.
So I want to follow up on something that sort of touches both on your question and then Lori and Sharon's sort of some responses about access to justice and the social challenges. And right, so this position that you're both running for, right? So there's a lot of, I understand, early intervention, you know, so a lot of the things, you know, that were mentioned seem to be outside the realm of this position. So I guess in this particular position, if you were to be elected, so how could you address those social challenges, inequities, structural challenges, all that, right? So within the position that you're running for, right, which is very limited, you know, has a scope, right? You know, there's all these other things that I work on, right, that have nothing to do even with my day job, I do on my own, right? But how would within the position that, you know, that you're running for, how could you, if you could, or if you can, you know, address those challenges? You can start, David.
You want me to start again?
Sure.
So access to justice is extremely important, and how you address that depends on the barriers that we're talking about. Are we talking about educational? We certainly have those. We're talking about financial? We have that as well. Economically disadvantaged are disadvantaged in court. We're talking about racial barriers. We have all kinds of different barriers to justice that we need to address. Now, as a judge, we need to be a steward of this process and a steward of the system. While it's not the Superior Court judge's duties to go into the school, it needs to be a social responsibility to go do those types of things when it's appropriate. We don't start school programs, but we need to be advocates for programs that are outside the sphere of Superior Court. Everything you do as a judge, people see, you model. And so going civic organizations, programs that for early intervention, programs that try and get people to understand the system and not be scared of the system. Those are all things that the judges have to be involved in when they're not on the bench. They have to be advocates for the system. You know, I wish we had authority, but one of us is going to get elected and we're still not going to get a change school curriculum to add in, don't be scared of school. We have to advocate that. We have to, when we're invited to talk, we have to make those connections with the community so that they realize that the system is actually theirs. The judicial system is theirs. and they need to feel that they have access to it and they're treated fairly within it.
Thanks, David. Sharon?
So Martine, so there's nothing to prevent a seated Superior Court judge from approaching the legislature to request additional resources to put into technology to make things more user-friendly, to put into additional resources to make it easier to have that access to justice. I think that's absolutely appropriate for a judge to be doing things like that, requesting that money from the legislature. And I think that's an appropriate use of the legislature's ability to allocate resources. So I think that that's one of the areas. The second area is much like what I've done with regard to my work in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and young women. And that's appearing before a lot of different groups to let people know that this is a path that they too can achieve. And so there's a big program, which I'm a huge fan of, called STEM Like Me. You know, there's nothing to prevent a seated judge from going out and talking to young women, talking to young people, and making the process of being involved in the courtroom seem a lot less intimidating and something that's potential for a young person.
Dave, if those civic connections are so important, what are those connections that you have at present?
Currently, I work with the youth well, on a scheduled basis. Before COVID, I was involved in Tri-Cities Prep High School and in the state mock trial program. I've been a mock trial coach for 19 years. We actually plan to keep the program going this year via Zoom, keeping the kids excited about it. When you have the opportunity through church or other civic opportunities, we need to take those opportunities. Interesting, I don't like selling myself like I'm doing right now, but I love talking to classrooms full of kids, teaching street law at Tri-Cities Prep. When the Boy Scouts want someone to come talk about the Constitution, I love those opportunities, and I can talk all day long about those because I'm not selling myself. I'm selling a system that I have faith in and I believe in. And so every opportunity that I have, I take.
So let me ask a question of both of you. If you go into a classroom in Pasco, neither one of you looks like probably 65 to 75% of the kids who are going to be in those classrooms. As a matter of fact, as a judge, if you walk in and you look like you two do, neither one of you is going to walk in there armed with a lot of credibility. What do you think you need to do to change that image? And how would you do it? And Dave, you just were talking, so I'm going to ask Sharon first.
Thanks. I've tried to do this. I actually hablo un poquito español. So I try to have as many conversations as I can in Spanish so that I can relate to people and they find me more relatable, because it's in those conversations that they will tell you what they really feel and what they really need. So it is absolutely establishing that level of trust. And I've worked really hard to do that. And it's amazing to me how when I can have a group of only Spanish-speaking people in my office, some of that recall really comes back, and the interpreter will actually step away because we're able to engage in this dialogue and the conversation. And it's just so refreshing and fun for me. And I really enjoy that. And that's what I would continue to do.
In the classroom environment, our ability to relate and our humility comes through, and hopefully, as your question is, in a classroom, they see me as something more than an old white guy, and it's my presentation and it's my humility and my personality that gets there. In practice, I was the judge for the city of Pasco. I have interpreter dockets every single day. And I was known for listening to people and giving them a fair shake. And that is important. you can rule against somebody, but if you listen to them, if you absorb what they're saying and they feel like you are, they had their day in court. Okay, you have to follow the law, but how you follow it and how you engage people into the process makes them believe they're part of it versus subject to it.
Dave,
I would add to mine also, I would bring in somebody, I would look for someone who looks like that demographic and bring that person with me to that classroom. I've had a lot of fun doing that with my counterparts across the state, and that helps to bridge the gap.
I was just going to ask you, Dave, if you mentioned your work at a municipal court, why did you leave that bench position then?
I left Pasco. Pasco's a contract position. I finished up Judge Ramirez's term and then was appointed to another 4-year term. And in my discussions with the city, I left in good terms. I loved what I did, but there's a lot that is involved in a process that's contractual as opposed to elected. And the clerks that I worked with, the staff was fantastic. But there's some underlying components to being a contracted judge that I didn't feel benefit the system. I'm not saying that the city of Pasco was doing anything wrong. I'm saying that I felt that it wasn't right for me. And there's a reason why Administrative Office of the Courts does not like appointed judges versus elected judges, because of those underlying issues. So with working with my wife, having thoughtful discussions about my family, and with the city, that's why I chose not to renew the contract.
I guess I'm not following you. What are you talking about exactly? Is there an example you could give?
The judicial branch is an independent branch of the government. Okay. If you look at the city of Pasco's flow chart, we're at the same, we follow under the same leadership as the police and the prosecutors. That's an inherent problem. I'm not saying in practice it's a problem. It's an inherent problem in a system that when people look at it and they say, Judge, your police officer is X. They're not my police officers. They're a completely different branch of the government. They don't see that in an appointed position. And that was called out to me many different times by citizens. And it's just, it's not something I'm comfortable with morally. Being in the same branch, having my pay determined by the same person who determines the pay of the prosecutors and the officers. I understand there's efficiencies to that, and I understand why cities do that, but it wasn't something that I felt good about. I didn't see in practice it hurting people, but I also didn't see in practice that it sent a message to the citizens, your judges are independent. It doesn't send that. And so that's what I'm talking about.
Good. Could Sharon answer Lori's question too? You know, what was the driving force behind your not wanting to stay in the legislature? You know, you still have to run for election. The pay is better as a judge, but what was the driving force?
The driving force is that I've been making laws for 8 years, and I saw an opportunity when this position became available to be on the bench and to be able to incorporate all of that knowledge that I've had over the past 8 years of making the laws that are actually interpreted in the courts. I just felt like I had these very unique qualifications, and having spent 8 years walking and talking with people from all these various areas of the state and with various challenges, I felt like I brought a really unique set of understanding and capabilities to the bench.
If you don't get the job, you'll be running for state senate next in 2 years.
Ask me in 2 years. We'll see what the political climate's like then. Holy cow.
Oh, just a second. I'm responding to something here. So Dave, I just would kind of like to clear the air, if that's okay. We, as you know, we've got letters to the editor, and we've had letter writers who have been very supportive of both of you. But one thing does come up, and it's that Basin City Rodeo. And if you could just clear the air for us, Dave, like what was your involvement with that? And
Yes, I will clear the air.
I would
And-
really appreciate that.
Oh.
Go for it.
I don't know if you can hear me. You appear to be frozen.
You froze a little bit, but go ahead.
Okay.
Good now.
So let me first start by saying this, that I've actually sent. Okay, so, ma'am, I think I missed part of your question. I'm going to talk about my
Okay.
involvement in this. It was,
Sorry.
you were frozen. Okay, so one, and I need to be crystal clear on this, and I've been doing my best to be clear on this. I did not attend the rodeo. I did attend the parade, okay? And let me distinguish the parade and the rodeo. I don't know that social distancing was even possible at the rodeo. I wasn't there, I don't know. In the parade, I did go to the parade. I was on top of a fire truck. I'm going to screen share. Oh, it won't let me screen share because I'm just a participant. I have a photograph of what I looked like at this parade. I social distance. I completely social distanced. You can see that. I am on top of a fire truck by myself, 10 feet in the air, driving down the middle of the road, waving. Now, in all honesty, my mask that was in my pocket, should I put it back on when we got to the street? Yes, if I could take it back, I would. I can't, I didn't. I was a boy, a little kid in a candy store on top of a fire truck, waving to people who were off the road. There was no handshaking. Everything was social distanced. Hindsight's 2020. I am completely aware of the social media whooping, and there's no other way to say it, that I am taking. And it doesn't matter how many times I say I wasn't sitting in the stands at the rodeo. It's led with, you were at the rodeo, you were shaking hands and not social distancing. And that is not true. I was at the parade and you saw the photograph. That you don't see. All you see is these conjures of me sitting in a rodeo with my arms around strangers. Not the case. By myself on top of a fire truck down the middle of a road. If I could take back what I do, I would, but I can't. It did it. I was up there, mask in my pocket and everything. It was actually a wonderful experience. Socially, it was probably hindsight inappropriate and may not have modeled the appropriate behavior. But I can't take it back. But I do distinguish it from the rodeo. Okay. I'm happy to answer any other questions on that subject. It is a big issue in this campaign. Huge
Yes, it is. I'm sorry I froze, but you answered the question. That was what I was wondering. But here's the other thing though, Dave, is the event itself was a defiance against the governor's orders. So how do you explain that? Just going to an event that, was, a lot of people were very upset by that.
I agree that the rodeo was a defiant. I don't know that the parade was, because the reason I don't stand for the proposition, Governor, you can't tell me not to be safe on my own time. My safety impacts your safety. And I believe the visions I conjure up about a rodeo are people in the stands hooting and hollering. I like a rodeo. This is not the appropriate time for a rodeo. I distinguish that because we did social distance. And while I wish I had my mask on, there is no Governor Inslee proclamation order that requires 10 feet up in the air by myself in a moving vehicle to wear a mask. Doesn't mean I shouldn't have been wearing it, but I do not see myself as violating anything by doing that. And if I had my mask on, it would have been totally fine. We wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Right.
Okay. But you've seen the photograph. You've actually now seen the photograph, how high I am in the air by myself with no one around me.
Right, right. You were social distance, but what about, like I said, just the event, that people on the ground, they were probably not wearing masks and packed in, so.
There were people not wearing masks. Were they in the same household? I'm assuming some were. Would it be naive to say that everybody was? I'm not naive about that.
Okay,
So.
all right.
Whether or not I agree with the governor's order, it was an illegal event. And I don't believe that a judicial candidate should be out there openly defying the law. My candidate's been at several other events since that one, and I won't do that. Like I said, whether or not I agree with it is irrelevant. It's a law. I need to follow it.
Okay, on that note, are there any other questions from the board, or we're almost running out of time? I just wanted to get that out there. We did say that if there was time, we would let each of you ask a question if you would like of your candidate. I hope you got that message. Sharon, did you have a question for David?
So Dave, you said that you've spent 20 years serving as a Superior Court Judge pro tem. I'd like to know why I couldn't find any record past the most recent 2 years of that. And in the 2 years that I searched from 2018 to 2020, I only saw 10 cases, 5 of which were for the same case, or 10 instances, 5 of which were for the same case. And I wasn't aware, nor did I was able to locate any trials.
First of all, I don't know how you're searching, but you're incorrect. Here's what I say, and this is the words that I use. I have 20 years experience as a judge pro tem in Benton and Franklin counties, both superior and district courts. Okay, I was sworn in January in municipal court. I pro tem'd in Pasco Municipal, Franklin County District, and Benton County District. I did that all the way up to 2010 on a regular basis. Now, when you look, if you go into, I don't know how you're searching, but if you search the court database, you search by the judge's initials. Mm-hmm. I'm DXP, not DLP. The ones you see DLP, those are just the new ones. They added Lee in there. And the reason why is because when Pasco set me up in the system in 2000, Tracy, when she put me into the system, she didn't know my middle initial. So my middle initials have been DXP in the judicial system since 2000. When I was a full-time judge in Pasco, DXP, not DLP. Now, in around 2010, I started filling in Superior Court. And I've been pro temping in Superior Court dockets. I don't know why you can't see them. Ask court administration. I mean, you say this out loud in front of people, but you haven't asked court administration how long Dave's been working here. You haven't, because they would have told you. They would have pulled it up in the computer and shown you how many dockets I've done. It's a little disingenuous.
It's not disingenuous. Where do you think I got the data from?
Okay. All right. Okay, so Dave, your turn. Do you have a question for Sharon? And then we'll do the closing argument.
Yes, I've looked at your accolades on your webpage, and they all have to do with you being a legislator. Please detail what time, when you have acted as a judge in any court, and your trial experience in any court. I'm not asking what time when you walked in the courthouse, when you were an advocate for a client in a trial setting.
So first of all, I'm going to reiterate what I said about Judicial College. No matter which one of us gets this job, it's going to be mandated that we go to Judicial College for Superior Court, in which we are going to be taught the rules that are very specific to Superior Court. So I can go through what I've done as far as being in a judicial capacity, but no matter what you've done, no matter what I've done, if it doesn't involve Superior Court, I don't see how that's relevant. My goodness, I was the vice president pro tem for the Senate. That's 49 senators I had to adjudicate over, and a lot of those are lawyers. You want to have myself excluded.
I'm sorry.
You would have 47 people coming at you at the same time.
Okay. My question. It was in court.
Okay. I
want to clarify my question because I think you're going down the wrong path.
All right. I think we've gone around and around with this one. So I'm just going to let you both have your closing arguments. And I do want to thank you both for participating. I know our format's a little different than a structured debate. So we recognize that. So it can be very interesting. So I wanted to thank you for participating. And I'm going to let Dave go first with his closing, and then I'll let Sharon go first. And we, again, really appreciate you both running. So whenever you're ready, Dave.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I like responding to questions. I realize some of them are tough questions, but they're questions that I've earned. I've earned the critique that you gave me. Superior Court is our trial court. I'm asking to be your next Benton-Franklin County Superior Court Judge because I am the best candidate for the job. Oh, did somebody say something? Sorry, I heard something.
Go ahead. I know, it's so weird.
Okay, so
I said better.
I'm the best candidate for
I
the
said
job.
you were the best candidate and I said better. I was correcting your English. I'm sorry.
Go for it. I'll give you more time, Dave.
So, but I appreciate this opportunity to come present why I believe I'm the best candidate for the job, answer the questions you have about me, and hopefully through this process, you have seen that, yes, I did attend the parade, not the rodeo, but that doesn't negate from my years of service to this community. It doesn't negate my years of experience in court. I don't think there is no substitution for the experience. That's why the lawyers in the bar pool did what they did. They want somebody who knows what they're doing. It's not a reflection on her being a good person or a bad person. It's a reflection on, is she prepared for this job? Does she need to be a lawyer first before she tries to be the trial judge? And while I agree, a good strategy for a lawyer keeping your clients out of court, it doesn't tell you what to do when you're in court. And I absolutely disagree that my municipal and my district court experience doesn't translate to Superior Court. Superior Court is actually the appeal for those courts. I have that experience, and I also sit in Superior Court. I was assigned today a conflict case in Superior Court. I will handle it from top to bottom, front to back, as a judge. Why did the lawyers ask court administration to appoint Dave instead of some judge from Yakima or Walla Walla? Because their confidence in my ability to be prepared and my temperament. I am asking you for your support. I'm asking you for your recommendation as the most qualified next Benton-Franklin County Superior Court Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sharon, your turn.
Thank you. And thanks for convening this, because it's really great to be able to have this conversation. So I appreciate the opportunity and the time that you guys take to spend here with us today. You know, who defines experience and what experience is appropriate for Superior Court? Learning the rules of Superior Court. The rules for Superior Court are found in manuals and they're taught in Judicial College. Don't you want to appear before a judge who has real world experience, a judge who has walked the walk, talked the talk with survivors, all walks of life, people from experiencing all different kinds of challenges through all walks of life. You want someone up there with a fresh set of eyes, someone who's not just going to go back to the same old, because that's the way it's been done for umpteen amount of years. You want somebody who can understand the human element, somebody who can maybe look at some alternative ways of getting that person out of recidivism, and somebody who has a fresh set of eyes, and somebody who has also worked on those laws that are actually being interpreted in Superior Court. That's just baffling to me for people to say that in order to be a good Superior Court judge, you had to have had a certain number of years working in Superior Court. If that were the case, there's a lot of people involved in Superior Court. Maybe they would make really good judges. They're not necessarily lawyers. You know, you really need somebody who understands the human element so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past, so that we can look for fresh ideas, so that we can become more inclusive and actually reduce recidivism and access to justice.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank
Thank you very much,
This
everyone.
afternoon.